So that's what they do in Numbers. They look at the descendants and the history of the Hebrew people back then. Also in Numbers, I believe God commanded a census to be done. You know about censuses, right? Census? Actually, 2 were ordered by God. One in the beginning of the 40 years in the desert and one towards the end. God said to Moses, take a census of the whole community of the Israelites by clan and ancestral houses, registering each male individually. So a census, knowing how many people of each you got out there, men, women, kids, it's a useful and necessary tool. It's like taking an inventory.
It's a human inventory.
Right. That's exactly what it is. You get organized. You see what you got and what you don't got to work with. Now, I don't know why everybody jumped up and down when Trump wanted to have a census, which included what? That citizenship question, if you're a citizen or not?
I believe so.
Yeah. What was the big fuss and ruckus about? It's not like he recommended a modeling runway competition between Melania, Michelle, and Hillary.
Wow. That would have been a sight.
As we know, of course, it would be no contest. Hillary with her pantsuits, she would win hands down, of course.
There you go. The conservative look.
Now, Moses, as we're talking about Numbers, Moses, he took another census toward the end of that 40 years in the desert for military and conquering reasons. The book says, you and Aaron shall enroll in companies all the men in Israel of 20 years or more who are fit for military service. So from the beginning, there were battles to be fought. And there still are battles today, unfortunately, to fight. It's like a necessary evil. You know, force is needed sometimes. There's no way around it.
Is that unnecessary evil?
What did I say?
Unnecessary evil.
Well, sometimes it is unnecessary, but sometimes it is necessary. Trying to cross me again, aren't you? Trying to cross me up every chance you get.
It's
Mix
a play
me up.
on words.
But force is needed sometimes. Armies must be stout and ready to go at a moment's notice, and there's no other way. Now, I don't know about $600 and $700 billion worth of being stout every year that the United States pays on military. That seems a little high to me.
Better safe than sorry.
Perhaps. But they have to be ready. Sort of like when a little baby throws up all over your shoulder. You got to be ready. You got to be ready with napkins and wet wipes, bucket and mop, a change of clothes.
Duct tape.
And then for the smell. The smell. Oh, it makes you gag. You start gagging and then you throw up. And maybe you might want to deliberately throw up on the baby, like a tit for tat to teach him a lesson.
Get the Febreze spray.
Yeah. You know, maybe the baby needs that to see how it feels and what it's like, and maybe he'll learn to stop. What's good for the goose is good for the gander, right? What's good for the board guy is good for the voice guy. Hey, you guys got the same last name, Guy. Are you related somehow?
Yes,
do we have to do a descendant chart?
Both humans.
Yeah. Numbers, the book of Numbers in the Bible, also talks about King David. It mentions, the book says, I took you from the pasture, from following the sheep, that you might become ruler over my people Israel. You know, King David, he was a regular sheep herder.
Shepherder.
Yeah, and all of a sudden he was made king.
That's quite a promotion.
Yeah, exactly. And it's a good example of how God maneuvers circumstances and people in order to accomplish his will. You know, God chose David. He appointed and anointed him to be king. Part of God's will, whether Dave wanted to do it or not. Maybe he liked the sheep. Maybe he didn't want to leave his buddies the sheep. You know, they have personalities, don't they?
Sheep get old after a while.
What do you mean, old?
Well, the smell and the whatever.
Yeah, but that goes for all animals
Itching,
for the most
you get
part.
that wool itchy all over. I wonder, do sheep itch? They have wool. Do sheep actually itch? You know what I mean? How does a sheep, like the sheep says, wow, this wool is itching big time.
It can be itchy on
Did they try to scratch themselves with their little hooves?
Their skin constitution is probably different than ours.
With the hoof, they're scratching like, oh, this itch, this wool is killing me.
So God's will get done whether you're ready or not. You know, and God will find you Believe me that. He'll find you wherever you are for your task. Like he found David in the middle of nowhere and brought him front and center. God can use us best when we're tuned in spiritually. When we have a connection with God with our heart and mind. So be prepared out there. You never know when you're called to do a task.
Get tuned in, not tuned up.
Right. You want to be prepared like a college exam. You want to prepare the night before, not by drinking a half a case of beer like my roommate, but by studying and get a good night's sleep, correct?
I don't get sleep.
How do you prepare for this show, voice guy? Any preparation whatsoever?
3 hours of sleep.
That's the best way to do it.
Yeah.
David also called a census, by the way. Little trivia there for you. But there was one problem. God did not sanction and instruct him to do so. Why did he do it? Why did David do it? The book doesn't really say. Maybe he wanted bragging rights. Maybe he wanted to build up his ego. Maybe he didn't really trust God that he had the forces to win all the battles that he later won. Maybe he needed verification. But regardless, the devil tempted him to do it. The book says, Satan rose up against Israel and he enticed David into taking a census of Israel. Like I said, God didn't sanction that. You can't do that without permission.
He was quite inquisitive.
Yeah, but for the wrong reasons. That's where the problem comes in.
He was human.
It's a no-no. It's still a no-no. David sinned by not seeking God's advice and direction first, and that's not a good idea. Just like us, when we make big decisions in life, we got to pray on it, as they say. Ask for direction to direct my every thought, word, and deed. I need help in the decision. So King David disregarded God in his decision-making. He took reckless action, which, of course, will bring on negative repercussions. The book says, this command displeased God, who began to punish Israel. Like I said, I don't know why David did that. It was an unnecessary census that he took, maybe to tax him. Usually you take a census for war or taxing. War, sometimes there's a draft that you might need to implement, although they didn't need it up until then. But even back then, they were considering taxing and had to tax their people. The book says, give to Caesar the things that are Caesar's, and to God the things that are God's. Yeah, but the question is, again, how much? How much do you give to Caesar?
Maybe it was for spear registration purposes.
Yeah, spears. Especially when the IRS have acted in questionable ways in the past. The government sometimes uses them as a weapon to smother or crush any opposition that comes their way.
I don't think they had the IRS back then.
Yeah, watch I get an audit tomorrow. An audit. Tomorrow morning. I'll get it in the mail.
Oh.
But nowadays, I'm saying, with the taxing, they go out of their minds sometimes, and the IRS can be a little bit scary. They have the means and ability to break almost anybody.
They gave me a refund I didn't file for, so I have no problem with that.
Yeah, well, good for you. But other people, they can break. They can break you if they want. Like Rocky fighting that Russian. I must break you. Remember he said that? I think that was the only line in the movie.
Never saw any Rocky movie.
That big blonde Russian.
I
must break
Dolph
you.
Lundgren.
I say that every day when I fry eggs.
Dolph Lundgren.
I look at the eggs and say that.
I never saw any Rocky movie.
Or when I play billiards. You start the game with a rack of balls, and I say, I must break you.
Oh, okay.
You ever play billiards?
Yeah, shoot and pull, yeah.
I
don't call it billiards. I call it pool.
We got a caller. Who's this?
Hello?
What's up?
NJ.
No, you're NJ. I'm Robert.
Yeah, Robert. Hey, Robert, did you guys get Car 54, Where Are You?
Yes,
I don't know. Did we?
I did.
You did? Okay.
Do you have any others?
I don't know if I mentioned it, but I had 14 lined up. I lost my paper.
Yeah, well, the greatest ones are, it bears repeating, God the Father, God the Son, God the Holy Spirit, 3, and from that, everything else is knitted together, past, present, future, solid, liquid, gas. And I just found out, I didn't realize it, but Earth is what? The third planet from the sun, and it goes on and on. But the greatest one of the threes is the greatest story ever told on what? 3 crosses. One rejected, one criminal rejected, one received, but the Redeemer was on the middle cross.
Well,
And
it doesn't
with
have to be the 3. We're using any numbers here. Say,
Right.
say
But I
something
just
with us.
I like the idea of the 3 because it has such great significance, and the idea that Jesus came the first time as the Lamb, the second time to rapture us out of the great tribulation, the third time to set up as a Lion of Judah, set up his millennial rule on earth. And the greatest thing as far as numbers concerned with the Hebrew alphabet, there's a number assigned to each one of the letters. And
Yeah, that's
it's
interesting.
And
Confusing,
along with that, with the number, there's also a picture. What do they call them today on a computer? The little pictures? I can't think of it. But there's a picture
thumbnail.
assigned to each one. And the greatest one is when you take Yahweh, the name Yahweh, and the numbers, Yud, Hav, Veh, Hav, and the pictures, are you ready? Window, hand, nail, hand.
That's quite confusing. I prefer the TV numbers. Voice guy, say a couple of them.
3's a company, and yeah.
Just go down the list for people that just tuned in.
Nah.
Oh, you're such a pain in my butt.
There.
Oh, but listen, if anybody's really interested, if I could put a plug in about numbers with Jonathan Kahn, my pastor's new book, The Oracle, as far as numbers are concerned, about Trump, Netanyahu being the 58th leaders of respective countries, United States and Israel, and Trump with the Jubilees. He was born on a Jubilee, and the last Jubilee, 2017, he was responsible. Usually something great happens. He was responsible for getting the embassy where? To Jerusalem.
And Jay, you
there's
give a lot of interesting information, but I think you lose a lot of people talking about all the Bible words like Jubilee and all the other words. I mean, which is all good, but I still think you lose people. I know you lose me sometimes.
Well, the idea is, listen, the idea is if you really want to know about God, go to his language, which was Hebrew, right? Although the New Testament
Do you know
was
Hebrew and Aramaic?
Right, they spoke Aramaic, right, but written Hebrew and
Can you
New
translate?
Testament
Can
Greek.
you read that?
No. I'm still
some people
trying
can.
to learn and stuff.
Hey, I got to let you go. I got a string
Okay.
of callers. Thanks,
Take
NJ.
care.
We're talking about numbers, as
Yeah,
we said, and in the numbers they talk about David a little bit. David, he evidently, when he commanded a census to be done, he evidently forgot how he became king. And how he attained all that power to begin with. You know, we also forget the abilities we have and where they came from. The book says, name something you have that you have not received. If then you have received it, why are you boasting as if it were your own? We never think about this. You know, all the things that we have, our looks, intelligence, sports ability, music ability, our loving family. Where'd that come from? That was all given to us by God. Every genuine benefit comes from God. Those things are from God. And we give effort to enhance our abilities and skills. Yes, we do. But the opportunity to even do that was also given to us by God. You can't get around it.
You don't get your genes at Sears.
Exactly. Did you just make that up, or where'd you?
Yes, I did.
You don't get your genes.
Well, yeah, you're born with the genes.
But
so
it's
you don't
true.
get your genes at Sears.
We're born with plenty of ability and skill from the very beginning. Where does that come from? People act as though they own it and they're totally responsible for it. Are they?
Nah.
Thanks for being so definitive,
I'm
voice
looking
guy.
out the window there. There's the tree. I was looking at the tree.
But you can't get around this. These are all gifts from God. You know, stop trying to take 100% credit for it all the time. The book says it is not that we are entitled of ourselves to take credit for anything. Our sole credit is from God. You know, God gives us the credit and the accolades, not us. Voice guy, are your lips sealed? Are your lips sewed like a?
I'm intrigued.
Like
by
a cadaver.
I'm intrigued by
your
that
your
tree
lips look like they're
outside there.
literally sewed that you can't open and speak. If
Oh, we
you were
got a-
laying down
we
on
got
the
a
floor,
call.
you
Got a
look like
call.
a dead person.
Got a call coming in. Hang on.
We got a call. Who's this?
Good morning, it's John.
Hi, John. What's up?
Hey.
Hey, how you guys doing? Great show as always. Keep up the good work, man.
Well, is it
And
great?
Robert,
It
you
seemed a little slow today. The voice guy.
I'm in
He
slow
seems.
motion.
I feel like I have him on my shoulders, carrying him through a desert.
I'm
That
stuck-
it's going slower this
stuck in-
morning.
stuck in low
Is
gear.
it my
Well,
imagination?
He got a little rusty. He's out of practice. I guess he used
Yeah.
to be on with you all the time, and now he hasn't been for quite some time.
No, that was AJ, not
Yeah.
not the voice guy. The voice guy
Oh,
does
okay,
all the
I apologize.
commercials, right?
Yeah,
But hey, I love that. I guess the caller's name is NJ, where he was bringing up some very interesting information about just biblical facts, and
Threes.
you asked him about if he knows Aramaic, and I thought, hey, we should have a meet and greet and have a little class where we could learn some of these biblical languages.
Well, who's going to teach us? The board guy?
Someone who knows. We
I don't
need to
think the
find
board
person
guy is
who-
versed in much of anything.
Well,
yeah,
there
I
you
said
go.
it, board
Hey,
guy.
And speaking of being versed, you didn't do your homework. You were supposed to check on that song, Jenny Says, by Cowboy Mouth. If you listened further, it gets to where the line in the song is, let it go. Let it go, let it go. As you said, we have to
Did you
let
just
things
attempt to
go
sing
and
just
give it to
then?
God.
Did you just attempt to sing just then?
That was a horrible attempt to sing.
I want you to sing. Give me a verse. Give me a verse all the way through.
I'm going to YouTube it when I get back.
I think he's got some ability here, voice guy, and I know voice guy sings.
Was it-
Go ahead,
Well,
I
sing.
don't want to get sidetracked from why I called.
Okay.
First
That's all
of
we do
all,
is
9 to
sidetrack
5.
here.
He skipped that one. Your friend that was talking about different TV shows. Now that was a movie, but I don't know if they also made it into a TV show with Dolly Parton.
Which one?
And that had the actual numbers. It wasn't spelled out.
9
9
to
to
5.
5. Does that count?
Sure, it does.
Was that a TV show?
It doesn't matter. You missed it. Just admit it. And I
Work
think
But
they did make it a
9 to
TV.
5. Da-da-da-da-da-da.
They did make it
Here,
a TV
I've-
show.
I've got a list of 5 things for you.
Go ahead.
5 things we need to do to get America back to God and save the country.
Nice.
And just basically shrink the federal government. And in this order, step 1, we need to get rid of the Department of Education. By its mere existence, it is a violation of the 10th Amendment, states' rights. And that's where it all starts. That's where they're poisoning our
Agreed.
kids' minds with this
Step 2?
federally controlled school system.
Okay, step 2?
The second one is get rid of the EPA. Send that back to the states. Again, 10th Amendment violation. Step number 3, pardon me, kind of personal for me, but I call it fake gas. We need to stop federally subsidizing ethanol.
Okay, number 4?
Number 4
Number 4 is
no
get rid of the
welfare,
voice
no
guy.
medical,
Or board guy?
no welfare, no medical, no voting for illegals ever. They get them a medical check, make sure they're okay, they're healthy, and feed them, and then deport them back to the country
And
that
last
they
one.
came from.
And last
The
one.
last one is that should actually be number 1. It's I'm going to cry. Stop federally subsidizing baby murder.
Oh,
There
the
you go.
abortion is evil. It's devil
is.
worship.
It is.